Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to my live broadcast where we discuss personal development, entrepreneurship success, and business development, but everything success related. As mentioned, we are live on 3 platforms tonight, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I just want to give out a big shout out to the guys at Interworks for the internet supplied, and it is working awesomely. So thank you very much, guys, Vian and his team. Tonight, I will be discussing the interview process for both the interviewee as well as the interviewer from a company perspective. And you might ask what the reason for that would be, but if you think about the economic circumstances worldwide, job markets are under tremendous pressure, and it's due to certain things that obviously predominantly influence this, but it is as a result of slow economic growth, or automation of jobs also plays a huge role. And for that reason, it's important that when you get that elusive interview opportunity, you need to shine bright like a diamond. You have one opportunity to actually go after this job and to be able to give your best, so to speak. If you are in the job market, I'm sure that you are familiar with applying for a job, whether it is for a new job, a position at a company, or promotion, or it could be that you want to leave the corporate world and you want to start your own business. But you're also going to be required to form part of an interview process, even if you do leave a corporate world, because then you are going to be interviewed on a different platform and different exposure, but it is still the same. You are going to be exposed to different kinds of interview. In my career, I've been fortunate to be part of many interviews, and I would like to share my experiences with you tonight. Good or bad, I think it's important that we have the opportunity to share this. As I mentioned, tonight's all about the interviewee and the interviewer. So if you're on a job market, predominantly tonight's discussion is going to be about that. The word interview is a short and succinct word. It's quite descriptive. It sort of gives me the thinking that it's interview. It's sort of like viewing into you, as per se. But it is a short descriptive word, but it's a powerful word. It's not an intimidating word, but it has the ability or the potential to determine your future and gives you the opportunity to get that job or not, or to live that lifestyle that you want to live through succeeding at the interview, and then at the same time get the job, get the salary, and get the company vehicle, etc., etc. Before we go any further, I would like to give us a little overview, just for some interesting sake. Where does the word interview come from? Where does the process interview actually come from? It's widely believed that the modern interview was pioneered by, believe it or not, Thomas Edison. There's a bright bulb, if there ever was one. So the story goes along the lines of, once humans advanced beyond the hunter-gatherer stage of cultural development and began to assign professions to certain individuals, the passing of these roles from generations to generations was the norm. In short, people were born into a job, so to speak. If your father was a blacksmith, you learned to become a blacksmith, and so on and so on. So no news there. Occasionally, a job opening would emerge when there was no air. So obviously, if there's no child or there's nobody that can do that job, then the tradesman wouldn't have the opportunity to pass on the knowledge and the skill. So hence there would be a vacancy. Then what they used to do is they used to go into an apprenticeship opening, and then they would organize for youth to go with artisan, and this artisan will then teach his or her craft to this young individual. And just by the way, and for interesting sake, the practice of apprenticeship goes back all the way to the 1700s, so it is quite a old profession, so to speak. Now, with the Industrial Revolution and the opening of large factories in America, job openings became plentiful. However, a job interview at that stage, and I think if I see many companies today still operate the same, believe it or not, but if there was a job interview or job opening, then you would go to the factory or the door of the business, and you will stand there for the day, and if they need somebody, they'll call you in, and that's basically how you will get the job. It wasn't truly until the 1920s that there were enough college-educated individuals entering the workforce that employers started to realize they could be a bit more selective. So they can basically pick and choose who they wanted. But as I said earlier, the man that's known to have developed the modern interview process, Thomas Edison, he got a bit tired of this whole concept. And as the story goes, Edison would get hundreds of applicants whenever he was seeking to add someone to his workforce. However, Edison was a genius and became increasingly frustrated with the college graduates who met with him seeking employment. However, they lacked knowledge compared to his own. Now, I think, to be honest with you, I mean, if you wanted to have the same knowledge of Edison, I think the bar was a bit high at that stage. Well, based on that, Edison created a test for prospective employees in the form of a series of questions of general knowledge or pertaining to the position. Some of these questions obviously related directly to the position that the applicant was seeking, while others were more esoteric and related to topics such as world geography or literature. It's unlikely that more than about 7%, they say, was successful based on these questions that Edison had. Not long before newspapers of the day picked up the story, and other captains of industry perhaps wanted to emulate Edison and saw that this was actually a very good practice. It made for sound appointments at that time, and they could get people that's fitting for the position that they're advertising. As you can see up to today, the modern interview process has come a long way. So, although you are the interviewee, it's important to understand that you might be interviewed for a position at a company. But, very important, you are also in a position to interview the company. So it's not a one-sided affair. Very important. So when you do apply, when you do go into a position, it's important that you understand that you are not only there to answer questions, you are there to assess the company, so to speak. Just think about it. I mean, well, if you are committed to give your life to a company, wouldn't you want to know more about them? Wouldn't you want to understand a little bit more about them before you take that leap of faith? It's very important that as the interviewee, be certain that you are really intent and really appreciate and want to be with this company, and that it's more than just a job or a way to learn, to earn income. It can't be just for the money, because if you do go for job interviews based on money, it is unfortunately not going to satisfy you, and it's probably not going to be everlasting. So you wouldn't be able to build that illustrious career that you wanted. As mentioned, sadly, most people enter the job market because they are in desperate need of a steady income, which is, sad, but it's true. I mean, most people, finances first before you can look after yourself in terms of your aspirations or the job that you would like to have one day that you feel content with. However, not long after you have been appointed and executed your duties as a star employee, you would start to realize that you also want to be promoted. Or you want to do better in life, or maybe you also want to be the boss. Who can blame you? And there's nothing wrong with that. The important thing is that you have to strategize and put a proper plan together for your future. Now, if I say a future plan, I'm not saying plan for retirement or look at a financial plan, etc. It's about your career. If you plan your career properly, and your planning actually starts way before you get to the interview. So many times, I get CVs and then I respond to the person saying, thank you for your application, we'd like to see you for an interview. And basically, what happens then is that they ask you, sorry, for what position was that? And then you think to yourself, but surely you knew that you were applying for this position, and then you ask the question, how don't you know what position this is? And they basically say, well, I've applied for so many positions, I just want a job. And honestly, that is not the kind of individual which you would like to appoint. It is, however, in human nature that we want to do better and we want to progress in life, and there's absolutely nothing wrong, as mentioned earlier. Personally, I think that's exactly how it should be. However, there are many people in positions that they do not like, are frustrated, or feel they deserve more. We all know people like that. They feel that they deserve more. They're in a position, they're frustrated, they don't want to be, they want to earn more, they want to be the boss, or they want to have a more senior position. And why is that? Why is that people, become frustrated? Well, you see, life is a journey, and so is your career. However, it's not a journey we as humans plan for very well. It's got nothing to do with finances or retirement, as mentioned earlier, but what I'm talking about is job satisfaction and happiness within my working environment. Many people earn a fair and a good income, but if they had the opportunity to do their dream job, or to be what they like to be, and also get remunerated for that at the same time, it will be something other than what they are doing at the moment. Let's be honest. Very, very few people I know actually are in a job that they like and they want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. They need to earn a living, but there's a 10% chance that you're actually living an unhappy life if you are not doing what you love, or you are destined to do. So let's get into the detail of what tonight's all about. As I mentioned, we are talking about the interviewee and the interviewer. So there are two parties to the interview process. It is the applicant, which is the interviewee, and the company, which is the interviewer. So normally it will be one-on-one, or it will be, depending on the seniority of the job or the position, there will be you as the interviewee, and then there might be a panel, 3 or 4 people, and then they will ask you a few questions. At this point, I just want to set the record straight that tonight's not about 100 ways how to dress for an interview. You can go Google that at your own time. What we will be focusing on is the skill and the ability for you to be able to be interview ready, from an interviewee as well as a interviewer process. So let's start with the applicant. That's the most prominent questions I get from an applicant perspective. How to prepare, or how to be, how to be great at an interview. How do we get awesome at being interviewed? Well, there's about 9 things that I think is important. And as I mentioned earlier, I've been fortunate to be part of many interviews in my career. And these are the kind of things that I've seen and I've also applied, and it definitely made a difference for me. So the first thing is, number 1, numero uno, be prepared. And if I say be prepared, it's not about how you dress, how you comb your hair, or how white your teeth is. That's got nothing to do with it. What does have an impression is your knowledge about the company. Who are they? What products they sell? Are you content with the products they sell? What is their vision, their mission, and what kind of culture do they have? Be prepared. Know about the company prior to your interview, that you can actually be content with, that you want to apply. It's not just about the income that you will earn. It's about that you actually want to be there. Next point is that you're gonna get a lot of questions as part of the interview, and it's important that you answer impactful. It's not about just answering the question. I've sat in many interview views of people, so eager to answer and so afraid that they're not going to say enough that they actually, they ruin the whole interview by just blabbering on and not actually making sense. So when you get a question and you want to take 2 seconds to answer it, take the 2 seconds and think about your response. And we'll get to it later why it is so important. If you want some time, buy some time before answering, just ask them to repeat the question. Obviously, don't do it with every question because then you're going to look like an idiot. So, then another point is listen intentful. Very, very important. If you get a question, listen to the question and think about the question. Do not just answer the question based on an answer that you think you should have. Many interviews, I've actually stopped the candidate from answering. They started to blabber and I just stopped and said, well, you have not answered my question. The moment I say that, they actually get very nervous. The sweat starts to run down their face. Reason being that they realize, shucks, I'm busy losing it now. But my intention is not to say, there you go, you're not good enough and I'm not listening to what you're saying. My intent is actually to say, whoa, think about what you're saying and listen to what I'm asking. Another point is confident yet humble. Now this is a very, very, very fine line that one has to remember. You want to be confident in your interview. You want to be the person that's obviously the right one for this job. I mean, you want to come across confident. However, there's a fine line between arrogance. Now, if you want to start off your interview in a less than admirable way, it is basically saying that I know everything. You can't tell me anything. The idea is actually to be confident, to be assertive, but yet humble. Be open to suggestion. Show that you are a team player. Show that you can work with other people. Show that you can listen. Things to remember when you do sit across people for an interview. Most of the time, you will sit one side and they will sit on the other side. Things to remember is body posture, your body language, facial expression, and assertiveness. Now, to give an example, if I sit and I answer a question and I lean forward like this, immediately I am closing the gap between myself and the individual sitting on the other side, the interviewer. Even I don't mean it, or I'm not actually intentful doing it, I'm actually just excited to share it, I'm closing the personal space, which means that they will take it up as I am being intrusive or I am, trying to, my confidence. And as we all know, your actions speak louder than words. So you would not want to lean in or for that matter lean back. The next point that I want to touch on is, for the interviewee, is, your emotional response to questions. So if it is, as an example, a sales position that people are applying for, then basically you need to, bring the aura with, bring that sales and marketing and relationship building and bring that energy with. If you sit there, I mean, no disrespect, but you sit there like a bean counter and you just, I'm very good at relationship building and I am the best person for this position, you'll be like, well, it doesn't really suit this job application. You're not the right candidate for that. It's important to know when to bring in which emotion when you do sit for an interview. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be this practical joker and you need to be loud and you need to be overbearing all the time, but understand when it's required. So when they speak about a KPI, which is a key performance area within that job specification, when they speak about things that require you to communicate with people and be able to build relationships, then you need to become a little bit more vibrant. You need to give more accentuating examples of where you will be suitable for this position. And then, they ask about finances, and then you're not going to carry on like a lunatic. You're actually going to show yourself as being reserved and level-headed about numbers. Because let's face it, in any organization, you will have some sort of budget to manage, and you need to show that you are mature enough to manage that budget, and you can be level-headed. Another thing is fit your abilities in the form of past experiences. Now, you will know that if you've ever been in a competency-based interview, what the interview requires is that you have to interview based on what is required for the job, and it actually makes it quite fair for all applicants, but it is called a competency-based interview. And what that requires is that they will ask you questions only pertaining to the job spec. And if you have the ability to share your experience based on these key performance areas, it will add a lot of value to your credibility and your experience. Then there is the elusive why you question that you get in many interviews. So the question goes along the lines of this: why would you say you are the best candidate for this position? Now, I have heard responses about it a million times. I do believe that that question is slightly outdated, to be honest. But you still get that question from time to time. It's, it comes from a place of authority, so you need to work with that. However, why you? And there is very important that you understand the company. It's not about you. Forget about you, forget about your personality, forget about your strong points and your ethics and your morals. What does the company stand for? What does the company require? What's the company culture like? And you need to find connections between how you are and what they want. That is what that question means. Why you? Another one is what to do if they ask you to sell a product to a panel. Now, I've been in a few interviews where, somebody just sits there and they say, here's a pen, and someone expects you to be selling things, or be a salesperson, so to speak. Personally, I think it is also outdated. There's many other ways to see whether somebody is able to sell. Like assessment and that form of interview. However, should it happen that somebody says, show me if you can sell, here's a pen, then I would suggest the following. Not to do as most people say, well, it's a silver pen, it is black, it writes in black ink, and you would love this pen, it's one of the best pens, would you like a pen? That's what most people do. I mean, they just don't know what to do. So here is something that I would recommend. Number one, a pen is a pen is a pen is a pen. Doesn't matter what pen it is. However, you start off your pitch something along the lines of this. A person's handwriting reflects their intelligence. Boom! Now everybody wants to seem intelligent, isn't it? However, a person's handwriting reflects their intelligence. Now that's your first thing. You tell them how important it is with what equipment you write, what kind of pen you use to write with. The second thing is you need to show the benefits, not the superficial, the artificial, or the aesthetic benefits, but what this pen will offer you. Now, this pen is a 0.7 millimeter ball, which means it writes in a nice wide black, thick black ink, and it allows you to write much easier. It gives you an opportunity to really express yourself, and it doesn't struggle to write, and it gives you a nice bold impression when somebody reads what you wrote. Which speaks to a position of authority. So, management will interview you, so management will like a pen like this. And then obviously you refer to, the aesthetics and the silver and, what. And then lastly, you do not sell one pen. You show them that you have the ability to actually sell a combo. So listen, if you buy this pen, I will give you a rubber. However, if you buy 4 or 5 of these pens, then what I will do is I'll throw in a notepad. So to show your ability to maneuver and to upsell. And then lastly, there's always an opportunity for you to ask a question. in an interview. So at the end, once they're done, spoken, and they've asked all the questions, you've answered all the questions, then there's an opportunity for you to ask a question. Now, I've seen 99% of the time people, it's like, no, it's fine, I don't have any questions. So it contradicts every single thing that you've prepared for. You've done all the hard yards, understanding the company, understanding company culture, the vision, the mission, and everything. And now you have an opportunity to ask a question, and what do? No, that's all right. That's all right. I'm not interested. You're basically showing that I'm not interested. You have to ask one or two questions. Be mindful that in asking you if you have a question, it basically is part of the interview questions to see how you will react to it. So it's important that you ask a question. Now, what question can you ask? And you can't ask what the salary is, but it's going to show you intent that you're only there for the money. You're going to ask you what the benefits are. And again, it's going to show you that you're more interested in the benefits than actually the cause of the company. So one of the questions that I would recommend is to ask them to tell you a little bit more about the culture of the company. It shows that you are interested in who the company is, not who, how big the salary is or what kind of position it is. You're really interested, what's the people element like? How do you have fun around here? So if I can give you a tip, ask them, how is the company culture for your question. And then you can also, in preparation of the interview, think about the questions you can ask, but please be mindful, it cannot be, superficial questions or, showing that you're interested only in money or only in the benefits. It needs to show that you're really interested in the company and adding value to the company. Now, that concludes our interviewee, but now from a company perspective, from a business perspective, what kind of questions can you as the interviewer ask to really understand whether this individual is good enough or is actually the right candidate? I mean, how do you get to that decision? I've been in many interviews with a panel of 3 or 4 people, and being me, I don't talk often, I talk a lot. However, and then I would get comments like, oh, that's quite a lively person, that person is very nice, and then decisions gets made based on, unfortunate circumstances, which has got nothing to do with the ability of the individual to answer. You really have to listen to what they say and then capitalize on that. So, from a company perspective, you need to ask 2 kinds of questions. Not 2 questions, but 2 kinds of questions. You need to have a good balance between open-ended questions, as an example, what is your view on fair labor practice? That's an open-ended question, and you can get a good understanding whether this individual actually understands the labor law. And closed questions, simple questions like, did you find our offices okay today? You have to balance between open-ended and closed questions to give you a total view or better view of the individual and their ability to answer these questions. Because if you only ask open-ended questions, you do not have the ability to measure this individual based on their ability to be succinct. And I've been in many, many interviews where people carry on and they carry on and they carry on. And as previously mentioned, I had to stop them and say, well, you actually are talking a whole lot of nonsense. You are not answering my questions. Another thing is to do a deep dive question. Now, I referred to it earlier as your key performance areas in any job specification. So it's basically your job competency profile is what your position that you're advertising is made up of. So say for instance, it is a salesperson. Then there will be sales, customer relations, financial management. All these aspects will form this position. And it's important that you identify 2 or 3 of these elements, which is very, very important. All of them are important, but these 3 are actually very, very important to the success of this position. Now, what you then do with these 3 elements is that you do a deep dive question. So in other words, you ask 3 whys on top of your original question based on this. So, say you ask somebody, Have you ever been overspent on any form of budget in your current position or previous positions? And then, because it's a competency-based interview, you would expect them to come back with an example. So you say, yeah, the interviewer might say that they have been exposed to overspending based on their previous position or their current position, and that they know about it. And then you say, okay, well, now I need to ask another question based on the answer. So you ask, so where have you been overspent, if I may ask? And then they will say, well, maybe it's on labor. We were overspent on casual labor, and it caused us to be overspent overall. Because as you know, and if you're interviewee, you will listen to this, as you know, labor cost is your highest cost. So that's your biggest variable. Then you ask another one, so what would be the reason for you to be overspent on labor costs, especially if you know it is your biggest cost? You should be able to have that under control. So to really deep dive in areas that's very important to the business, that you do not appoint somebody that is actually in a position that, you know, it's not good enough for the position, or actually will end up, you know, making more mistakes than anything else, or don't have enough experience. Then also, you know, body language. Very important to understand the concept of body language. If I say body language, it's not about, you know, how broad your shoulders are or how stiff your neck can be. It's about their body language, the interviewee's body language, while you speak as well as while you ask questions. I referred to it earlier, where you basically have a space between you and the interviewee, and that space, it's like an invisible barrier, and you'll see that it is actually maintained at all times. Depending on what kind of question you ask, that individual will either close the space, or they will open the space. Now, you know, it's not exact science, but most people, when they get excited, they immediately move up in their chair and they lean forward because they want to participate. They want to actually add value to this discussion. And it gives you good indication that this person really speaks from experience, they're honest about the answer, they're truthful about the answer, and it gives you good indication where the energy sits. On the other hand, if the individual answers, but they tend to lean back, or they lean to the side, you know, while they answer, or they have a tendency to touch themselves, you know, they sit there and they like this, or they go like this, it means that they're slightly unsure of themselves, because human tendency is that if you are unsure of yourself, you need to ground yourself. Now, because you're sitting, you're not in control of your legs. Hence, you have the tendency to touch yourself, to basically reassure yourself, to say, you know, everything's okay, it's going to be fine, and it gives you that sense of grounding. So you will understand when somebody answers you and they're sort of like fidgety, or they touch themselves. It's like I said, it's not exact science. However, it gives you good indication where this person, and then the pattern will, right through the interview, the pattern will actually repeat itself. So quickly you'll see, but he's done, you know, 4 questions, he's reacted this way, so he's obviously confident. It's not a once-off event during the interview. Then, you know, it's important to understand where their passion lie as an interviewee. Now, as little as the interviewee should apply for a job just because it's a salary. For that reason, you should not also appoint somebody because you just want somebody to work in your company or your business. You need to find the right person. So a question along the lines of, you know, a passion question, you know, if you could have your ideal job, you could do your ideal job, what would that look like? And the important thing there is that, you know, you give them an opportunity to be honest. Nobody wants to work for somebody that you actually don't want to work for, a company you don't want to work for, or nobody wants to have an employee that actually don't want to be there. They're just there for a salary. So it's important to establish that during the interview and be honest. I mean, open the door to say, you know what, nobody's here to judge. Nobody's here to form an opinion about you or what you desire. It's more about growth and giving yourself the opportunity to grow in life. And then, you know, lastly, it's important that you listen to effort that's been made. I mean, you're not you're content and you're familiar with your company setup. You know everything that is happening in your company. And here comes somebody along that sits in an interview and they can actually answer you questions based on what's happening in your company. It also gives you an opportunity to show that they understand the culture, they understand the vision and mission, they know your product range, they know how long you've been in existence. It shows real interest. It gives you a good standing of this, and this person's actually made an effort. You know, they didn't just came and apply for a position and hope for the best. They really made an effort, and that should count for something. And based on all these findings, I think from an interviewee as well as a interviewer process, I think both parties want to have a stable workforce, people that is loyal, people that is willing to go the extra mile, as well as employers that is loyal and wanting to go the extra mile. And if one unpack it, and both parties really go out and prepare for an interview, and really make an effort and show respect to the other party, and then you will have an opportunity to appoint the right people. And that counts for both parties. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed tonight. Folks, that's all from my side. And in closing, I want to leave you with the following. HR manager once told the business owner that they need to stop training their people, because what would happen if they train all these people, spend all this money, and they would leave? Upon which the business owner replied by saying, what if we don't train them and they would stay? So I'm looking forward to spend more time with you every week on a Monday to discuss topics that matter. Thank you very much.